Class of 2021, congratulations. I know that this is not the graduation season or the senior year that you hoped for or that you planned for. I know that it can feel overwhelming to even begin to think about how you contribute in a world that has already lost so much. But I also know that that is the moment of greatest promise and potential, that is the time for heroes. It makes us, as Ernest Hemingway said, strong in the broken places. And so as I've been thinking about you, I've also been thinking about other people whose journeys, whose educations didn't unfold in the ways that they had hoped for or that they had planned for. I think about my husband's grandmother, Lalita, who was not able to continue her formal education after 3rd grade. But every single night, by the light of a kerosene lamp, she read everything: physics, astronomy, great literature. And after she had cared for her family and worked in her community, would take this knowledge and share it with everyone she could. I think about my own granny, who, after her children were born, went back to college and then spent the rest of her career teaching English to newly arrived refugees and migrants in Australia. They were already brave. She is brave too. And together they made one another braver. I think about your classmates, the class of 2020, many of whom are already my colleagues. And I admire so much the way in which they look immediately, not for the loss, but for the possibility, to figure out not what they can gain, but what they might be able to give. One of the great gifts of my career is that I've been able to spend my time helping build organizations where the ideas are sharp, but the people are gentle, where the humans have dignity and sometimes the products are a little bit wonky because we haven't built them all the way to the end yet, where the individuals are humble and the community is really strong. So not surprisingly, over the last year, my team and I have been trying to figure out what might we be able to learn? What might we have to offer to a graduating class like yours, emerging into the world at a moment of uncertainty, but also of promise and potential to create great change. And so we've actually followed the journeys of 800,000 people over 20 years. Many of them just like you, beginning right at the early stages of their careers. Many of them a decade or more ahead of you, to understand, how do you decide what you're really meant to do? How do you figure out that unique combination of a job of purpose, meaning, and contribution? And across nearly these million folks, what we've been able to uncover is that there are only 4 things that really matter. And we call them recognition, purpose, certainty, and belonging. And one of the things that's magical about a generation like yours, a class like yours, is that those dimensions matter a little bit differently from the way in which people who emerge into the world at more typical times might think about them. But a little bit more on that later. So let's think about the first of these, of recognition. So recognition is not just how much you are paid. It's not just your job title. It's not whether you have a fancy office or a fancy home office. It's ultimately about usefulness. One of the things we found is that the biggest predictor, or among the biggest predictors, of whether someone will love their work, whether they'll be engaged in it, is whether that job makes good use of your skills, whether the things that you've been trained to do, trained so well to do by your colleges, by your teachers, you can practice in the real world. It's what Theodore Roosevelt called far and away the best prize in life, the chance to work hard at work worth doing. Or, as a mentor of mine put it when I was graduating college, if you're ever trying to figure out where to go or what to do, go where you can be useful and where the people are kind. Recognition. Be useful. The second dimension that will really change the game is purpose. And purpose isn't what is written on a company's website or on the walls of the office. It's not something a CEO talks about once a year. Purpose is fundamental to the way in which your values align with the organization's values. At BCG, we talk about our potential as our purpose as unlocking the potential of those who advance the world. And purpose has 3 dimensions. It's about firstly figuring out what you believe. What do you think that you were meant to do? It's finding an organization where other people's values align to your values, and particularly the values of senior management. Do you see a version of yourself and your values in those people? But the third thing that really matters when you're looking for purpose is, do people behave the way they say they believe? So look around at whether the organization's behaviors, their practices, align with what you believe and align with what other people are telling you that they believe. And if you've got all 3 elements of that triangle in place, it's a pretty good chance that you have found your purpose, or a spot where you're able to align your purpose to the purpose of the organization. Our third dimension is what we call certainty. And funnily enough, certainty isn't about knowing that things will never change, or that things will never go wrong, or that there will be protection for you if that doesn't happen. It's almost the opposite of that. It's actually about a kind of resilience, an ability to be brave individually and organizationally under these conditions of extraordinary change and uncertainty that all of us, no matter where we are or what we do, will experience in the years and decades to come. And the thing that's amazing about a class like yours is that while you appreciate certainty, you'll actually appear in our data, in our research, to be capable of more bravery than others, to be able to step into that uncertainty and say, we will be okay. I will be able to help people find a path through this. And speaking of those people and having them on your path, the 4th dimension is belonging. And belonging isn't just about saying, have I found an organization where there are people I think I could be friends with? Have I found people who I think are like me? It's much more fundamental than that. Belonging is about whether or not there is a community where everyone can feel safe, where everyone can feel valued. And I hope when you think about belonging, you don't just ask yourself, is this a space where I could land comfortably? But is there a way in this environment where I could build a community where everyone could land comfortably? To do what American author Toni Morrison invited us to do when she said, just remember that if your real job is that if you are free, you have to free someone else. If you have been given a little bit of power, then your job is to empower someone else. Belonging isn't just about finding a place where you can stand. It's about whether or not you can enlarge that space to welcome others, people who you think are like you, people who you think might not be like you, to do what President Barack Obama invited us to do when he urged us to expand our ambit of concern. A class like yours is a very special one. We will follow you for years. We will look to you to lead us, because the great gift that you have, the strength that you have in the broken place, is the ability to share with others your sense of belonging, to build a community, to create certainty for others where there is none, to insist that we act from a place of purpose, and to find ways to be useful. Go where the ideas are sharp and the people are gentle. If you don't find those spaces, I hope that you build them. Class of 2021, on behalf of all of us, our Boston Consulting Group, congratulations.